Get along, little doggies. Get
Folks,
along.
we are live. Welcome to Talking Crit. I am Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR. With me, stage whatever this way is,
Mm-hmm.
the most organized man in the OSR.
I didn't prove it today, though.
No, you didn't, but we love
I
you
did
anyway.
not prove it today. No.
Bad,
Once again, you
bad
did not
Mike
prove it today.
Colorado.
Yeah.
Underneath this position here, the one and only Jim Kitchen, auctioneer extraordinaire, and with us this time from Parallel Dimensions. Is that right?
Parallel Dimension Gaming, absolutely. I mean, I am from Parallel Dimensions, but
All right,
yeah.
I'm close. Parallel Dimension Gaming, the one and only Edwin Nagy.
Hello.
Edwin.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Look at
By
that.
the
The
way,
chat's already blowing up over Edwin. That's excellent.
Oh yeah, well somebody's got it.
Exactly.
I saw Edwin at TotalCon, so it was good.
Yeah, that was great. TotalCon was good this year. Well, it's good every year. But.
Yeah, no, I got to play test the game. I should have play tested the day before.
Oh, that's right.
I got hijacked by Steve, and I was in the employee lounge area of the hotel with a very large selection of adult beverages. So I was like, Edwin, I love you, but I'll have to wait.
But not that much.
Yeah,
I understand.
No, I mean, come on, free shit. Yeah, free shit. Come on.
Exactly.
If only Mike, treated me so well.
Hey,
I know.
You're gonna.
I'll be treated
You'll find
very well this year. Thank you.
You've everything. Most of what I have is because of Eric and this show. So I mean, I have a lot of appreciation.
Mike,
for this
most
shit.
no.
Because one of the things we talked about when we first started doing the shows, I said, "I'm going to pimp North Texas all the time."
Well,
and he said, "Fine."
It's
I was
away from home.
"Okay, we're in," and I do. I
it.
talk about it under a minute.
I pimp it all the time.
I just keep talking about it
every
constantly.
con I go to. So
we've actually had people say, "My God, would you stop talking about North Texas?" Seriously, on the show, they don't say that. Would you stop talking about it? All you do is talk about it all the time. No, that was the deal. That was the deal.
My kids are still in school. I can't go. I don't want to hear about it.
That sounds like a family planning problem, and I'm not listening.
Yeah, I know.
I was just going to completely talk about other stuff and say thank you, Robert Felrath, 4935.
No.
I don't know if I have any way of actually typing in the chat. I don't seem to.
You have to open up an actual YouTube.
You have to open another.
It's convoluted.
Yeah, I'm not. That's not going to happen. That's definitely not going to happen. So thank you.
Well, Edwin, I've known you quite a while now, and I'm interested in this thing that we call parallel dimension gaming. And could you tell us a little bit about that? Then talk about your Kickstarter. So who is in parallel dimension gaming? What are you guys up to? What's the philosophy here? I mean, just get rolling on this.
Sure can. So it is. Zach Glazer, whom you know, Casey Christopherson, and Jeff Harkness, and myself, and Jen Glazer, of course. And so that's the core of the company, the partners of the company. And we decided that we were ready to strike off on our own and see what we could make game-wise. And we're looking at gaming books and I think gaming experiences, which might include things like workshops. They might include live plays, whatever. But primarily, we're making gaming books, and with that, primarily adventures. And so we're looking at old school essentials. We're definitely looking at Shadow Dark. So that's our Kickstarter. We'll come back to that. Mm-hmm. We are probably so we have a couple pieces out already for 5e, and we'll probably keep doing that. And then I have been working on a new game system, which I got to play test at TotalCon. I had a bunch of great players for that. And I think it probably needs another 6 months easy of solid play testing before it's going to be ready for release. It's not a level-based game, but the low-level style play seems to be working really well. But I think some of the higher-level stuff needs a little tweaking. But it's one of the things I'm super excited about right now because, of course, no one does this if you're not excited about it. So I think those are the big things. And the Parallel Shadows Kickstarter. So this is the first volume of what will be our OSC zine, and the idea is it's an adventure and stuff, the usual sorts of stuff. There's a cartoon, there's new spells, there's what happens when the torches go out, so some new random tables, what's beyond so this particular adventure is sort of mining based, and so a lot of the articles that are in the zine are related to mining, and that's the general plan going forward. We have so this one is, I should just talk about it. It's on Kickstarter right now. Go back it. It's awesome. So it's 48 pages of about half of it's the adventure, and about half of it, a little under half, is all of the other stuff that goes with it. And a lot of the extra things are, referenced in the adventure. Like, here's a dead end mine shaft. Hey, if you want some ideas on how to fill that in, we've got a couple pages on creating new things in your tunnels. If you need some new magic items, et cetera, a bunch of pre-gen characters, all of that great goodness. And of course, this one I'm excited about. Well, I'm excited about all of them, but I wrote this adventure. So, it's great. And then we have a couple, I should be clear, Parallel Shadows, Volume 1, Highway Over the Mountain. There we go. So we've got 15 days to go and 2 weeks. So if you're interested, please get on there. It's digest sized. It's in color. It's all beautifully done up for Shadow Dark, and it's gonna be great. That's nice that you can do the little scrolly thing there.
Oh yeah.
And then we already have our adventures for the next 2 volumes ready, and they are much more horror themed. They're by Casey, and they are brand new. They've never seen the light of day, and they may not, because they're dark and nasty in the way that only Casey can write. So I'm super excited about those too. There's we just finished. I guess we're like 99% done with editing the next adventure, which is takes place in a haunted tavern, and then we've got some good art coming in for that. And Casey, I gotta say, he works miracles in terms of art direction. Mm-hmm. It's really, really fun working with him, of just saying, hey, I've got this idea for a blah, 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 and here's sort of the theme I'm thinking of. And then somehow magically something shows up from the artist after, he works with them and makes sure that sort of points them in the right direction. He's really good at giving them direction, but keeping them open enough so they can do their creative parts. So that's fun. We also have, so I think that's the Shadow Dark. We'll have probably every few months, if we can keep ourselves on track, we will have a new Shadow Dark zine. Cool. Again, with an adventure plus extra stuff. We have also another exciting project we have is the 5e adventure called Curse of the Crimson Wake, which is by John Perugine, who has written a bunch of mostly sort of young adult fantasy novels, and then he's done a ton of what do you call it, ghostwriting of all kinds of stuff. So he's just a real solid writer and comes up with some really fun ideas. So we're working with him on his first adventure, and again, we finished the rough layout for that. So we have most of the art in. We have the editing almost done. I've got to tweak a few power level stuff in the adventures because it's 5e, and apparently 5e people care about balanced encounters a little more than some other gamer types. So we'll see, we'll dial that in a little bit. But I know this is old school folks here, old school gaming, so we'll keep on the old school side.
Well, so I noticed something. I was looking at your projects, the projects that have come out, the ones that are going to come out. You guys aren't sticking to any one system, right? You guys are just going to do
whatever we damn feel like.
You got 5e, you got OSC, you got Shadow Dark, you got whatever somebody wants to do. That's what you're going to do. You're going to do what you guys want to do.
We are. No, the whole idea was that, we would like to obviously make a company that is successful. We'd
Mm.
like not to go bankrupt. That would be a bonus. But we're all in it for fun, and it's really the goal is to be able to do the projects we want to do in the way we want to do them, and have fun doing them and not lose money. That's really that's our financial plan. So far, so good. It's not easy. Like as you all know, the game publishing business is
Rife
small margins.
with peril.
Rife with peril. Yeah.
line
There's
to
small
me.
margins and big rooms for mistakes, or rooms for big mistakes. Luckily, I think we've all been doing this long enough that we have seen a lot of the big mistakes and can avoid them. So we will definitely try to do that.
So it sounds like a really ambitious first year.
Oh my gosh.
Like it seems. I mean, it might even brush up and be about being overly ambitious. So why did you choose this as the first thing out of the gate?
Well, this is the third thing out of the gate.
Sorry.
Speaking of ambitious. We chose this for a couple reasons. One was the practicality, in that we actually had this material and could get it ready for Shadow Dark fairly quickly. And so this was sort of almost a proving ground for us. You know, if we can get this going with have a nice solid basis with stuff that we know we're comfortable with, and then we can start bringing in new material. One of the parts about a new business is you want to have a little money in the bank so that you can buy art and buy writing for the next projects. So this is material we had and that we can produce, and then we can use that, of course, to invest in our next projects. So that was part of why this is one of the starting rounds. That's probably a lot of it, I think, is that it's good and it's ready.
Right. And so what's your elevator pitch for the project? Like, what's your 30-second elevator pitch for the project to like just get somebody to be like, I got to throw my money at this?
It's by me. Oh no, sorry. No, it's no, it's a investigative adventure that ends with a nice dungeon crawl. It's got a great twist to it, and it has some pretty good intertown rivalries going on. So that's the adventure half, and then as I said, the zine half of it is everything that you love from childhood gaming zines that adds to your game.
And so what's your favorite part of the adventure? I mean, you said there's a twist. Don't spoil it. But
Spoil it.
What's the thing that just makes you, I can't believe we brought this to print. I can't wait to hear people talk about this.
So what I like about it is that I think it is a successful sandbox mystery. In other words, you can go wherever you want to go. You can do what you want to do. There's no railroading in it, but you are likely to end up, whether you go this way or that way, and there's sort of clues around about what's going on. And so basically the premise of the story, which is not a spoiler, is that we're building a road between two towns, and somebody's messing with the road, and this party is sent out to try to figure out or to stop the people who are trying to stop the construction, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And so you can, just hie right off into the woods and look for the bandits, assuming they're bandits. You can head over to some rival towns. You can find this other group. There's a bunch of reasons that various groups might have for stopping this construction, and you can sort of go after any one of them. And depending on where you go, you'll find different things, but eventually you'll end up probably in this nice little closing dungeon that helps out resolve the mystery.
Well, I don't need to buy it now. I want to take my bid. Take my.
Well, if you want to run it, you're going to have to buy it.
Oh, shoot! Well, I kind of do want to read it. I don't get any freebies. I know you. I didn't get any kind of freebie of this. I had to pay money.
We charged you double. The other thing for you old school folks, it does have a blue map in it.
Yay!
I'm-
Always a fan of the blue map.
I
Blue
am
map
sold.
is the best map,
Yeah.
hands down.
It has a blue map, and then it has two maps. One is a blue map, and one is a sort of a town, not a town, a countryside map, which is in color. But
So what was your impetus to do a zine rather than just like another adventure? And then so I mean I'm not banging you on this because I love zines. I'm crazy about zines, but why did you decide this is something we want to do? We want to do a zine. It's going to come out however many.
oh, there we go with the thunderstorms.
To me, these things are a lot of work. Zines are. Whoops! Whoa! Yep. Oh, yeah, I've got lightning too. Great. Probably get struck here while I'm on the
Excellent
computer. No, so
Don't
why a zine over just an adventure? Well,
I think there's a lot more room for fun. The adventure writing is fun, but all the other stuff is fun too. And I think especially when you're, I don't know, for me, one of the joys of old school gaming is all of the random charts and tables, and also the older systems are just have sort of a lot of room for adding things to them, adding whatever it's new classes, new spells, new monsters. And they're relatively easy as long as you're creative. The mechanics aren't standing in the way of you adding new things. It's just a matter of being creative to add new things. And so it was really the idea of being able to have fun with it and to be able to sort of have the adventure as a sort of a core, but then have all these things that tie in and work with the adventure, but they could also work with your other game, right? Could also work with whatever it is that you're running if you don't happen to be running the adventure at the time. So yeah, I think it was just like, it seemed like fun. Mm-hmm. Why else would we do anything in this? It's just fun. And I think it's also, I mean, it's a nice marketable piece also, right? It's like there are a lot of adventures out there. There's a lot of really good adventures out there. And of course, there's a lot of good zines out there also. But I think we felt that this could be something that was more noticeable a little bit.
Well, plus you could do what everybody else that does a zine does. You can wait to get like 6 of them and bundle them all together and come out with a nice kick-ass hardcover edition.
We are definitely looking forward to selling this for a second and eventually a fourth time once we can rebundle them and repackage them. And then we're going to put them on gold plates, and then we're going to carve them onto stone. Yeah, that's coming down the.
I hope
pike.
so.
Absolutely.
I like buying things 2 and 3 times. That's
excellent,
awesome.
Excellent. Well, we try to change the title sometimes so that you can just buy it again and not know you've bought it.
Believe me, I'll fall for it every time. I buy Jeff's stuff, Jeff Jones. I buy Tom Wilson stuff again. I mean, these guys have got me coming and going. They've got me. And I buy all the Shadow Dark stuff. I'm sure there'll be a Cursed Scroll hardcover collected pretty soon, and I'll have to buy that too. So,
yep, absolutely.
I'm used to doing it at this point. So you've got a pretty professional group of guys. I mean, this isn't like your usual kind of startup. I mean, you and Jeff and Zach and Casey, there is a ton of RPG experience there in both years and just all the stuff you guys have done. I just think that's interesting because normally you get something like this, it's like you got at least 1 or 2 people, if not more, or they're just starting out. They don't really know what they're doing. They're just kind of like, I mean, you guys, you've done this in your sleep. Is that kind of does that feel good that you just kind of like, I can roll in here and I can just get this done. I don't have to answer to a boss. I don't have to, I mean, everybody else I work with is smart that I don't have to explain things to somebody like they're 3 years old. Like, no, here's how we have to here's why we have to do editing. Editing is good. It's good to edit stuff because
spell check.
Yeah, when somebody else reads your stuff, they're going to check what the spell check got with missed. And, sometimes you have to tell people that. You guys don't have to do that. So
I think so the answer is it's awesome. Working, and it's that we have a lot of experience and we have diverse experience and we're all good at different things and we're bringing different things to the package. One of the things that it does allow us to do is to work with new authors and new artists because we can provide the mentoring and guide people to, so John, for example, super experienced author, but this one isn't his, the Crimson Wake is his first adventure. And so, working with writers to say, hey, here's the difference between writing a novel or a short story and writing an adventure, or we're working with people who haven't published written stuff and say, hey, this is what it means to have a complete draft, or, this is the process we're going to go through. And you can, start off real low, and then we'll work up to a full adventure. And that is a lot of fun. Like that ability. And Casey, of course, has been doing that for years with artists, right? He starts with people who are sort of coming into the, maybe even in high school, coming into their artistic talent, finds people who seem like they're going to be really good. And then as they get older and more experienced, he's working with them over and over again. And that's really fun. Like, and that's something we can do because we're not new, that, we can just sort of take that a little extra load on. So we are, generally speaking, interested in working with new people who are excited to get into the publishing hobby. And we, don't promise wealth or fame, but it's fun.
Matter of fact, they're not coming. By the way, they're not knocking on your door. Just letting you know.
Yeah, right. But it is. I mean, it is really fun to do this stuff, and then it's fun to hear back from people who've run your games. It's fun to see if you're a writer. It's fun to see other people's art that goes with your writing. I think if we're doing another book we're working on is a OSC book that's going to come out. So I'm going to screw it up. Are they Exalted Funeral? OSC.
Yeah, I think so.
No, they're that's
no.
Oh God,
a super embarrassing moment here.
Yeah, well,
they're coming out with a new book on demons, and they're going to be co-releasing other people's related work. So it's going to be sort of a big shared party. I don't think this is a secret. If it is, sorry. And so anyway, but the project we're working on, a lot of it actually started with the art. So the artist is creating art, and then we're writing to go with the art. And so that's another fun thing for people to see. It's like, hey, I wrote this, I drew this, and now somebody else has made a backstory for it, created a stat block for it, created an encounter that goes around it. So a nice 2-page spread that works with the art. And so seeing, I think that, Necrotic Gnome, thank you, Jen.
Jen, we need to
as always, that's why she's here. She's on vacation, but she's here to
she's
save my bacon.
a million miles away, but she took the time to tune into our tiny little goofball show, which she should be doing something way more fun than this. But
what could be more fun than this?
I guess nothing. I guess not another country. So
plus it's 6 a.m.
Oh yeah, they're just getting up. Yeah. Oh, that means Zach's asleep because he didn't.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's no way he's up yet. Impossible.
Unless he's still up. It's always possible.
Unless he just texted me. No, I'm just kidding.
Mike, you said you were going to pick me up at the airport. Where are you?
Yeah. Quit putting. Yeah, I won't throw you under the bus, Zach. Oh, okay. It's almost as good as Zach. It's Matt Roberts. So that's
nice.
That's close.
Tall. They're both tall.
Well, so I don't know the answer to this. So what is it? So like this, say that Jim and I have this great idea. We come to Parallel Dimension Gaming. We say, hey, we want to do this. Do we own the right? I mean, how does this work out? Do we just you just hire us to do it? Then you pay us a fee and then you get to publish it. I mean, do you own it forever? What are the artist / author rights for Parallel Dimension?
So we're actually working on a couple models. One of the things we would like to do but haven't started doing yet is sort of design studio services, where you would come with your manuscript and we would give you back a PDF that has art, it's laid out, it's edited, and you just take that PDF and do whatever you want with it.
Okay, so that is very cool.
Yes, you would pay us to get your words to a final PDF, and then you go off and have fun with it. The stuff that we publish, so if you're a writer, typically we would buy your words from you, and then they're ours, and we do what we need to do with them, and we publish them. There are some other models that we can look at. If you're an artist, we also typically buy the art and own it, but you have the right to use the art for portfolios, for your own website type of thing, but we don't want you selling it to somebody else, because then of course that somebody else is going to be publishing books with the same art that we're having. A little weird. So that's normally what we're doing. As I say, we are flexible enough, it's just the four of us hanging out, and we could do other things, but that's sort of the base model.
I mean, it's cool to have a get. One of the things I like working with Tom Wilson, we do our BX stuff, is it's just so low pressure. I've got an idea. He's like, okay, well, write it up and send it to me, and then I'll send it to him. Yeah, I made a lot of corrections. All right, well, no problem. So, and then we do that, and it's like, okay, Mike, you were supposed to send it in 2 weeks ago. Where is it? Oh, yeah. And so, we just had, I like that kind of just laid back, hey, we're going to do this. And I think that's a great service, because that's the kind of thing that I would need, because I can write stuff. But I can't do any of the layout stuff,
right.
And as for editing, look, somebody that does their own editing is a fool. If you do your own editing, you're an idiot. You've got to have somebody look over your stuff. I don't care if you use Grammarly, AI, robots from the future, whatever. You've got to look over have another human being read your stuff over. So that's a great idea. I love that service. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for that, and I think there's some. I think again we have we can do different levels of design, right? It could be some sort of simple 2-column layout with some stock art, and we can make that happen, or we can make it, do some fancy stuff with a lot of graphic elements that could really bring, or, get custom art, et cetera, et cetera. So that's really, I'm excited for that. And I think we'll be pushing that model.
I think there's a place for that, because, that there's people that can. There's got to be more people like me that can do one or two things good that don't have a clue how to do the other things,
Right.
I could write. I have artists that I get to do stuff, but I still use some stock art because I don't want to get 25 pieces of art. I'd rather just and I obviously I can't do layout, and as we talked about, editing is it's a fool's game to do your own editing. So
the editing thing's funny, because I consider myself a fairly good editor, and everything when at Frog God, for example, I did all the 5e stuff, and so I would read through, I would get all the 5e stuff where I was happy with it, and while I was doing that, I did a lot of editing, and then I would give it to our editor, and the stuff I missed, and it's sort of multiple levels, like the things I just missed, like this was the wrong word or was spelled incorrectly or whatever. But I think more than that this is a better way of organizing this sentence so that it's clearer for the reader. Like those types of things are
because in your head you know what you're trying to say.
Exactly.
And when you read it over, it says that thing in your head, and somebody else reads it, go, I don't understand, where was the barrels in the room? You said that, like, oh, you're right. I didn't really, you're right. I didn't say it the best way I should have. And that happens to everyone. You're completing that sentence in your head without actual
or even the whole plot. Like, you think the story makes sense, but you're like, if you're trying to run this, you're like, well, where did this come from, or why is this person in that room and they should be over in this other whatever. So Spaghetti West. Spaghetti West,
yeah, that sounds good.
Spaghetti West, sure. So either one would be a possibility. So in other words, we might buy words and art and publish something, or we would for hire, we can create the PDF, and then it's the authors or whoever hired us. So somebody could say, hey, take my 10,000 words and turn it into a 30-page adventure, and we'll say we're on it. And we'd talk about, so we would probably talk with the author about what sort of mood and themes they're looking for. We would make some proposals on, level of art, that type of thing. Western, excellent. Levels and style of art, and then we'd go to town, and then when it's done, we'd say, okay, great, here's your PDF, and you could kickstart it. You could put it up on drive-through, or put it up on one of the sort of custom drive-through sites if it was whatever the appropriate rule system is. That would be, or just
let's say I want to do Kickstarter. Can you? I mean, you obviously you did a lot of Kickstarters. I mean, can you help? That's something I wouldn't want to touch unless somebody was holding my hand along the way and say, "Hey, here's how you do Kickstarter," because I have no clue how to do a Kickstarter. Is that something you could guide people through to also?
It certainly mechanically, absolutely. Like, this is the practical. Like these are the things you have to do in the order you have to do them in. And we have some thoughts, but I think we would not be your go-to group as a marketing firm, right? And that's really a lot.
That's good to know,
right? Yeah, a lot of what running a Kickstarter is coming on important talk shows like this and saying, "Hey, we've got an awesome Kickstarter for Shadow Dark. You should go check it out right now. $25, you get yourself a print copy, $15 PDF. It's all written, it's all laid out, it's ready to roll as soon as the Kickstarter is over." So you got to do stuff like that. But yeah, I wouldn't hire us as advisors on marketing. But I think
that's good to know. Okay, so you have limitations, but that's good. That's nice to know.
But yeah, no, this looks great. Yes, no, there's a lot there. Like, so we have. I would say each of us has 10 to 20 years of experience in our part of the gaming sector that we're working in, and that's significant. Like there's definitely something there that it would take a while to replace. Okay. I'm answering to Spaghetti.
You're
question there. Who would not like to?
All right, hold on.
Hold on. Tornadoes. Ooh, nice.
The chat moved because Bed Mike threw out something.
I'm just letting you know in case you hear me scream when you hear whoosh, that I got sucked up. I got sucked up by a twister, and so just putting that.
Let's try to avoid that fate.
I can't run that fast.
Throwing
that
out there.
Of Ozing, okay, you can't do that.
They go 80 miles an hour. I can't outrun it. I'm just gonna have to hope it misses me. So
you're just gonna have to sit it out.
For your armrest. Red Oak isn't close, so don't worry. Red Oaks is.
I was gonna say I didn't think you were south of.
No, it's about an hour away, so I'm good so far.
Excellent.
We'll see what happens. We'll just put some money. If you feel like betting, you want to put some money down, I have no problem with that.
Please don't bet on my co-host life. I'm just
bet Mike survives tonight. Does he just lose his house? I mean, how many limbs are broken? Whatever you guys want to throw some money down on.
Mike, I want to know the items behind you that are permanently sealed.
Okay, let's talk. Now I don't want to talk about it.
Are they insured from tornado damage?
They're not insured for enough. Let's put it that way. Yeah. I looked at the writer and I'm like, yeah, I could replace some things, but the stuff that has sentimental value that is unique, that's going to be no. So, which is why, as Jim and I always advise and say, is the purpose of this game is to end up with nothing, because you don't want to have stuff that you don't know where it's going to go to or what's going to happen to it after you're done. You want it all to go to somebody who that wants that item or is going to have that item. So don't be left with boxes and boxes of stuff.
It's the perpetual game of looking for people who are younger and healthier. Have more storage space.
There's only two phases to life: accumulation and dispersal. You need to understand that. There's only two.
Well, for those who've been listening, my granddaughter's saga, she suddenly decided she likes comics, and she's been taking all my comics now. She came over last night and she informed me that there's a new comic she likes called Legion of Superheroes. Do I have any of those? And I said, oh my God. Do I have Legion of Superheroes?
Here comes the hernia.
Do
I have Legion of Superheroes?
Yes.
Oh my God.
And I didn't pay more than $6 for all of it.
I said, I can help you out, little girl. I have got some of the original shit along with all theirs. I said, which series are we talking? The original series, the 80s, the two ones in the 80s, the two in the 90s. She's like, oh, yeah, all of them. I'm like,
all of them.
There you go. They're just
Excellent.
gathering dust in the collection. So yes, yeah. Find somebody that loves that stuff and give it to them, and you will feel happy. You'll be happy as they're enjoying it, and you don't have to worry about tornadoes sucking it up. And then 2 days later, I find this wonderful issue of Adventure Comics with the first appearance of the Fatal Five in a ditch somewhere with dirty water on it. I mean, how would I feel about that? I feel terrible. So.
Okay. That's excellent. Yes.
Well, I mean, hey, if you don't ask, you don't know the answer.
Exactly.
So you gotta at least ask. Maybe I'm in a generous mood today. I'm like, sure, whatever. So you never know.
I've got some crap I've been trying to get rid of.
These
I think an artwork
aren't going to be worth anything.
The artwork would kill me. Probably Jim too. Jim has a lot. I'm sure has a lot of original artwork that would just kill you. You don't even want to think about it because it just makes you sick if you lost some original Elmores or Easleys or any of that good stuff. So that's what you can't replace with insurance. Sorry, But I had original Easley. What's an Easley? The insurance agent scoffs. That wasn't worth $10,000. What are you talking about? I've never heard of this guy. No, I promise. Matt Coder has a whole basement full of them.
Yes, but his museum is under construction in
yes, we'll
Pennsylvania.
talk about that as we go to our general in about 15 minutes. That's one of the things we're gonna talk about. I got a few other cool things that Edwin can join us to talk about with too.
Awesome.
Matter of fact, I better write them down before I forget them because I'm terrible.
Look at this organization happening right before our very eyes. Lessons in organization.
So after this project, what's out of the gate next, Edwin?
Let's see. What is next is I think it's going to be Crimson Wake, which is our 5e with John Perigine. I think that is our next piece. March, April. Yes, that's going to be next.
An overarching campaign? Is it?
So that is an adventure that is location based. You start in a spooky haunted town, and there is there's a curse that needs to be broken, and he actually came with a really nice 2-track way. So there's actually some different methods of breaking the curse, and they have very different effects on your party and on the cursed town. There is a shipwreck which needs to be explored in the harbor, and it's kind of a dark twisted adventure, but it's probably I would say it's about 8 hours of gameplay. It could certainly be more depending on the group, and if you're somebody who likes to, if it's a group that does a lot of role play and a group that likes to move around a lot and explore a lot, you could certainly twist some things onto it. I'm planning on running basically the shipwreck part of it as a con game. So I think I can do that in about 4 hours, and that'll be a nice little mystery for a lot of spooky stuff to figure out. And that also, we have some really fun art on that that I'm excited for. So that'll be month, 6 weeks, something like that. I think we'll be ready to run that. This one, the Parallel Shadows, as soon as it closes, we'll send that to print and get it out in the mail. So that one will be, fulfilled. So we've got 2 weeks left on the Kickstarter. If all goes well, it should be fulfilled by the beginning of April. So that's our goal.
That's pretty aggressive.
Yeah, no, well, we definitely, we have our stuff done before we start. And so all we need to do is figure out how many print copies we need to order and how many PDFs we have to print. No, I'm just kidding. How many print copies we have to order. And then we can do that as soon as the money comes from the crowdfund, and then mail them out. So that's pretty quick. And our last one, I think Zach actually went to the printer like the day after the Kickstarter closed for the Sweetest Curse. And so that was great because we were able to just, get that thing, a week at the printer, a week in the mail, and Kickstarter's over. We're done. And of course, people have their product, which is always nice. all of us, of course, have experienced the 6 months to 6 years of waiting for waiting for things after we've packed them.
I mean,
That's
that
happened before.
was like a decade.
Well, so what can you tell us about your? So I talked to Jeff Talanian a couple weeks ago, and he played in your game.
Mm-hmm.
He had high praise for it, Edwin. So tell us about your rule set.
I will happily tell you. So this is, I will say, a reimagining of old school D&D, and by reimagining, what I mean is that it is meant to evoke OD&D play. It's a dungeon crawler, but the mechanics are completely different. So by evoke, right, you still, if you're invisible and you attack someone, you're going to turn visible. There's things like sneak attack. There's all that kind of stuff that we expect from D&D is in it. But mechanically, it is a big push your luck system. And the inspiration for the game was basically wandering monsters. And the idea that for wandering monsters to really be exciting, there has to be some reason to spend time in the dungeon. Like that and so I decided, well, what happens if we give experience points for spending time in the dungeon? And so that was sort of the start. But that on itself, well, that's just a little hack you could add onto any old D&D game. And I think it's kind of a fun hack. But I went further, and I basically came up with the idea of making everything usage dice in a Savage Worlds exploding dice pool type of system. So you've got dice for your ability scores. Oh, there we go. Thank you. There is a free PDF of Dungeon Survivor on our website. So the current version, I've been updating it every couple of weeks as I go. You can go download it. There's pre-gen characters in the character sheets. So paralleldimensiongaming.com, all the way down at the bottom of the website. Check it out. And I've been running a lot of online games too to bring people in. And I could, if you're interested, drop me a note and we'll get something going. But the basic idea is your ability scores have dice associated with them. So you might have a D8 intelligence. Your feats, which is everything you could possibly want to do, but in an OD&D way, so it's not that long a list. So like the Druid's shape change ability is a feat. Casting a magic missile is a feat. Sneak attack is a feat. All of those things are feats. They have dice associated with them. And then your equipment has dice associated with it. So your short sword has a die associated with it, or 2 dice if it's magical, whatever. So you say, I want to make a melee attack. You're going to get your strength dice. You're going to get your melee attack dice. You're going to get your sword dice. You're going to put them up and you're going to roll them all. And this is sort of Savage World style. You have a target number, and then for every 5 above the target number, you get additional successes. So that's all great. But each die, if it comes up its biggest number, it explodes, but it explodes to a smaller die. So you get a D8, you roll the 8, you keep that, then you roll a D6 because it's the next size down. If you roll a 6 on that, you roll the D4, and if you get a 4 on the D4, you have lost that die. So the idea is you are always putting your dice at risk. So when I roll my strength to attack somebody, I might end up weaker. I might pull some muscles. I might tire myself out. My D10 strength might go down to a D8 in this attack. My sword might break, might become dull, whatever. It might go from a D8 sword to a D6 sword. So you become less effective. Of course, there's healing. It definitely brings the mending cantrip, the mending spell into forefront because you're trying to fix all this stuff. But the piece is that you don't have to roll all of your dice. So what you're doing is choosing. Say I could make a ranged attack with my bow, and maybe I have 6 or 7 dice available to me between my dexterity dice, my bow, my ranged attack feat, maybe my arrows. So I got all this stuff. But if I'm shooting a kobold, I'm just going to choose 1 die because I only need 1 success. And if I hit it, I'm probably going to kill the kobold. And so that die, I'm going to choose my biggest die, and I'm going to roll it. It's really unlikely to desplode. And so it's a sort of a safe thing. But I'm going up against that big bad. I need 8 successes. I'm going to grab all my dice. I'm going to roll them all. And as they explode, I'm getting more and more successes, but I'm also getting weaker and weaker. My bow is breaking.
But you got to do it because it's a big
You got to do it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, I like this. I like this idea.
It's been really fun. People have I mean, of course, this is me talking and whatever, but people seem to have really enjoyed it. And I feel like it's something new. Like it definitely feels different. And it means, one of the things it means is that every die roll is sort of interesting because things might go wrong with it. And that's exciting. The other thing it means, which I think really adds to the idea of a dungeon crawler, is that your character changes noticeably even over a combat. Like in a combat, you might have your sword go down or your melee attack might run out of juice, and suddenly you're saying, well, maybe I can try grappling instead, or maybe I'm going to try, you have to come up with some other way of solving the problem because you've lost too many dice or you don't want to put those dice at risk. And the other thing that is different in a big way about this game versus D&D is that I made it's both classless and levelless. So basically, as you gain XP, you buy bigger dice. So you start off with a D10 strength, and when you get enough XP, you can buy it up to a D12. You can buy it up to a D16, a D20. You can buy extra dice. So maybe you want a D10 plus a D4 strength. So you can buy feats, right? So you're a fighter, you're fighting away, and you say, it'd be really cool if I also had a magic missile. Great. You buy a feat magic missile. Doesn't matter. You can buy any feat you want. And you can mix and match. So I think the ability to make characters that really fit your vision is big, is strong. I'm excited about that also.
Very RuneQuesty, very Skyrim. I like that, because you're not really, you can really kind of do anything.
You can customize, and there's a lot of like choice. So if your intelligence is low, your fireball spell's never going to be very powerful. So you have to choose where you're spending your XP. So if you bought a lot of strength early on because you want to be a strong melee fighter, that's awesome. But it means when you buy that fireball or magic missile or sneak attack or something that's based on dexterity or wisdom or whatever, well, until those stats are also raised up, you're not going to be very good at those things. So that's that's kind of a nice thing, I think, for customization and sort of long-term growth of your character, to be able to say, "Oh, I learned this, and I'm going to do that."
I think it's really cool because we just played D&D last Saturday, and it's a pretty experienced group, and they were fighting orcs, and then they ended up having to fight a pit fiend because it got released through really bad decisions for everybody involved, and then so they went from orcs to pit fiend, but luckily they're very high level. But this makes every single combat, you have to think. You're going to have to think like, okay, what's going on? And if something unexpected like that happens, like you go from orcs to pit fiend, it's going to, everything changes then. Okay, guys, we got to throw all the dice here. Exactly. We were only doing one dice against the orcs, but pit fiend, we're going to have to just go on. Yeah, if we end up and we pulled every muscle and our head hurts and our eyeballs falling, I mean, too bad. At least we
right. At least we survived, right?
So I like that idea of management, of dice management, of having to decide, because there's no combat that's totally meaningless. Everything has to have a point to it. Everything, even the most mundane
even listening at a door can hurt your, like you can go dumb listening at a door, right? If you're using your wisdom and you're listening at that door and you happen to roll poorly or well, that's it. Right. So you roll well, you roll that D16, because I brought in the D16 because I didn't want to jump from 12 to 20 on the dice chain. But anyway, so you roll the D16 and it comes up a 16. Well, that's already probably 3 successes, depending on what you're trying to do. And then you roll the D12 on top of it, 4 or 5 successes. Like you're hearing things that are, half a mile. Like the GM had better give you some really
My mother-in-law is calling me.
Exactly. Like somebody, you better get some really good stuff out of that. But yeah, you've sort of knocked yourself a little dumb focusing on that sound. I had a fun one. Oh, somebody used Stone Sense. So they're a dwarf, right? They wanted, I made up a dwarfy character. So we have a feat called Stone Sense. And they said, well, I touched the stone altar. And they rolled, I don't remember. It was 4 or 5 successes. And so all of a sudden they got a whole history lesson and they sort of understood, what the stone was feeling. they're like the stone is there's something inside that's trying to remember the details here. That's
I'm gently caressing the stone, and it seems to enjoy it.
it does seem to enjoy it, but it has some trauma left over from when Mike was here like 16 years ago, and
something happened on this stone. Oh no!
Right, exactly. So it does. I think all of these systems with levels of success, like even the new Star Wars system, which is now however 10 years old, whatever, like all of those things with levels of success have put a bunch of pressure on the GM. And I did, most of the spells, all of the spells have to be able to scale. What is a tiny earthquake spell with only one success versus an earthquake spell that has 7 or 8 successes? So all of that has to is all in there.
That's where the DM comes in too, right? Because he's got to
Absolutely
play on. Oh, what is it? Because this guy, like you're saying, he got stone sense, but he got like 5 successes. What the hell can I tell him about this stone? But that's cool. As a DM, I'd love that because I like the improv part of being a DM.
Exactly.
Throwing stuff at you like, oh shoot, I don't even know what's going to happen, and I'm the DM, and these guys are looking at me like I definitely know what's going on.
Or you gotta. So, I've already made a whole mess of somebody was searching for a secret door and they got a mess of successes and there was no secret door, and I was like, well, here's a nice treasure trove that you found that's sort of up behind the altar there, and here's a little box with some new weapons in it, and I think that's that obviously that stuff is not yet written, the sort of GM advice and play style stuff, but that's where I'm at in the writing. All of the mechanics are written. They're still tweakable, obviously, and I'm sure I'll add more feats and more spells and more monsters, of course, because that always happens. But I think the next big writing hurdle is that whole sort of stylistic. How does this play? How does this feel? Examples of play, GM advice to make it really sing. Because again, it's living in my brain just fine, but I have to be able to put that in a book to transfer to other people's brains. But yeah, no, if you want to join in again, that'd be awesome.
I'm absolutely going to steal that, Edwin. So just letting you know, it's stolen, or some parts that are stolen. I wouldn't steal the whole thing, but I think that's cool. That's nice. I posted
the link to the website. If you scroll down to the bottom of the link, you can download the current playtest rules.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll probably update. I have a little bit of writing to do sometime this weekend, and there'll probably be a new version of it. That version is 2-3 weeks old. But it's not changing. It's changing slowly now. It was changing like every day or two. I would post a new one because I'd make some big changes. Satan is in the dark.
Sorry. Be right back.
All right.
Okay. All right. He's not wearing pants. Allegedly. So what is this? Edwin just described my wager and roll system to a degree, but mine is D6 dice pool system. Same mechanics, otherwise they're a neat concept. Yeah, dice pool have a lot of fun to them. There's some
shenanigans.
There's shenanigans, yeah. I think because I really like the swinginess of DCC, for example, the fact that there's a chance for things to just really explode out of control.
Yes.
And then that's fun, if for the right kind of game, obviously. And so this has some of that in there, and I've seen some of it in both directions. Like I've seen people, I think, was it? No, but I've seen people roll like a D12 and to roll a 12 on a 12 and a 10 on a 10 and an 8 on an 8, and that's 1 in whatever it is, 80, 800, 8,000, 1 in 10,000 probabilities. Well,
if it's something that's going to screw the DM over, believe me,
it'll happen.
It'll just happen because I'm the DM, and my stupid players that they carved a pit fiend. They carved a pit fiend up in 10 rounds. I'm like, now the pit fiend had no powers because of the reason he had been trapped. He had he didn't have any magical powers, but he could just kick ass. He only killed one player, and they're just like whack. I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? I mean, they're rolling like critical hits and 20s, and can I do that? Okay, well, I'll let you roll. If you roll 2 20s, 2 20s. Oh, okay. Well, yes, you dodged underneath his tail, and So yes, if it's something bad that can happen to the DM, it will happen. Which is one of the reasons that the DCC freaks me out a little, because man, whatever you don't think is going to happen, DCC will happen.
We'll make it. Well, in DCC, you have a fair amount of control because you have that spell burn or the luck spends, and anything where you can, especially in a con game. So it's like, the last fight of the con, and you're never going to see this character again. Yeah, I'm going to cast that spell,
do
and
it.
I'm going to cut off my
That's
arm.
right. If he winds up with tentacles, he winds up with tentacles. I don't
Exactly.
care.
Oh well, at least I rolled a 30 on my fireball spell.
That's
and that's
right.
really
Let
all
him
that
make the spawn checks for the rest of his life. I don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't care.
Yeah, I asked the guy once, what is a campaign game of? What does the mage in a campaign game of DCC look like at high level? I mean, he's got horns, and 3 arms, and 8
A
legs.
Shoggoth. That's what he looks like.
Yeah.
He's toast. He's completely toast.
Years ago, we played just a series. We played like a funnel, and then a first level adventure, and a second level, third level, fourth level, fifth level adventure, and just one after the other with no connective tissue. So it wasn't really a campaign, but it was anyway. And that was I'm trying to remember what there was some good stuff that happened to the mage. It was definitely rough. But
Well, I mean, not technically good stuff, but
Right.
it was a lot of fun.
Interesting from a player
Everybody has
perspective. It was good stuff, not from the character's perspective, perhaps.
I don't understand why it burns. Yeah,
Unless your brains are leaking out of your ear, it's fine. You're gonna be okay. We've got a
Natural. Well, it's unnatural, but
Yeah, right.
that's why DCC plays so well at conventions, because you don't have
Yeah.
to worry about that.
It's a great
You
convention game.
It's a great convention game for that stuff.
What's your character's name? Who cares?
Exactly. Who cares the second, actually?
Yeah.
That's
Who,
right.
who cares died?
I don't care is my next character's name. Don't worry about it.
Third
Okay.
base. Yeah.
I've played with Harley Stroh a few times, and every time I take a thief, and every time the character's name is Harong, because 2 Harongs don't make a right. And every time he groans, but yes, it doesn't matter. I'm going to throw the luck away. I'm going to do horrible things because it's a con game.
Right.
And I just don't care. And it's just too much fun. So
Right. Exactly. No, that is where a lot of the fun is in a con
So when you
game.
look at this next year, and you've got a very ambitious year coming up, what's the stuff that just you're so excited to get into grips with that you cannot wait to share with people?
It's mostly this dungeon survivor game. I mean, that's really where my energy is. I think Casey will tell you. I think In the Fade is the next thing we're doing in Parallel Shadows. Jeff actually has a fun adventure that we are also finishing up the layout on, Forest Fracas, which has sort of Disney-like characters, except there's a little Fey touch thing going on there, as well as the. So I think we're all excited about different things, and we're definitely going in 17 different directions, even though there's only a few of us. But I think we're going to get it all out, and I'm excited for all of that. But yeah, personally, I think so. I have spent years, decades telling myself I was never going to develop a game system because there's so many good game systems out there. And I believe that there are a billion good game systems out there. But this just hit me in a really unexpected way. And I'm like, all right, I guess this is happening. So that's, I couldn't have gone into writing a game if I weren't excited about it, because it's just too big a task. Like writing an adventure by comparison is a piece of cake. So
Nope, I understand. So
Yeah.
so we've got a couple of weeks left on the Kickstarter, right?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, and you're already funded, so that's not an issue. What do you really want to just tell people that, like, this is why you have to buy this? This is the knock it out of the park, drop dead, knock it out of the park. What's your love of all this?
Well, I'm gonna play to the collectors in the audience that you gotta buy volume 1, because the rest of the volumes are coming out, and you're never gonna see this one again. And if you don't get it now,
You'll
you just
never
might
get it
never
later.
get it.
Never get it later.
gonna
Limited
get it.
time.
No, I mean it's a good solid adventure. It's gonna be I think it's a great starter for a campaign. Make this really brings characters into a conflict between several groups, so you can build out those factions, and I think that's so. I think as a either as a one shot, you can certainly do this as just its own adventure, but I think this would be a really nice way to start a campaign, sort of build into the community.
Well,
plus it's set in Vermont.
Ooh, Vermont.
Everybody loves Vermont, right? You didn't know that.
So we're talking Parallel Shadows Volume 1, Highway Over the Mountain. They have the link to the Kickstarter. We're gonna move into the part of our program we talk general RPG stuff. Obviously, Edwin, you're welcome to add your knowledge to this too. But thanks for explaining that and talking about your game.
Thank you all. That was great.
Yeah, so we have another few weeks left for the Kickstarter. It's already funded, so it's in the bag. It will be coming out. Unlike some people we know who that doesn't really mean anything. But did we lose Eric now? Does Eric have thunderstorms too?
I don't know what's going on.
So
it's all right. We're dropping like flies.
We got a few. So we got a few other little. I've got a little list of stuff here I want to cover. There, he's back.
Yeah, we're having fun. Come on.
But no, yeah,
I'm getting busy
with this comment also on that, and we'll come back at the end. We'll pimp your Kickstarter one more time at the end too. But I have 3 things I want to talk about today, Eric, and I bet you and Jim know some of these things. Okay. And I'm just going to give you the 3 things.
Deal them out. Deal them out, sir. Deal them out.
Number 1, D&D 5.5. Number 2, D&D Art Museum. Or number 3, AI not copyrightable. Those all happened this week. What would you like to roll with first, guys?
Well,
I want to roll on art. Let's just get the art out of the way.
All right, let's do it.
It's
Art
sort
museum?
of small. I can't remember the town in Pennsylvania. There was an article that got published about a week and a half ago, interviewing a guy who is essentially the person overseeing the conversion of an existing building into an art museum for fantasy. And so the person that was being interviewed said it's a collector from Australia, blah, 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 blah. And this is Matthew Kodor. This is Matthew Kodor finally trying to put his museum into play, where he'll be able to show off his art collection. We're all very terribly excited about this, very happy about this. Altoona, thank you. It's an exciting thing. We're all very, very happy about this. So I think one of the things that has had people grousing for a number of years is that things were going into the Dragon's Hoard and were never being seen again. And now, short of the show in Italy last year, we're now actually going to finally start seeing this and seeing the collection. And I think this is great. This gives us all an excuse to journey to scenic Altoona, home of the locomotive shops. But I couldn't be happier. I really, really am. I'm very happy that this is happening. I'm tickled to death to see that it's actually work has started, and I can't wait to see how it goes. You know, the Norman Rockwell Museum sees a tremendous amount of traffic. I believe it's in Western New York. And this is another one of these, like the Frazetta Museum. You know, you're finally going to have a chance to see some of the classic artwork that
imagine all your favorite covers of Dragon magazine, module covers, rule books. Matthew probably has the original, and I will say that for years I was a critic of Matthew, and this isn't a secret. I talked to him. I've talked to Matthew quite a bit, and he told me over the years something's going to happen eventually. And I was like, oh, whatever, you know. But when I'm dead, something will happen. And he wrote me a very nice letter last year or the year before. I can't remember, last year before. He said, the thing you've been bitching about is going to happen finally. And I was just overjoyed because I'm like what Jim said. I don't think things should be in a Dragon Hoard. I think it should be, as Indy said, in a museum. It needs to be in a museum where people can experience it and see it. And he wrote me a really nice note and said, hey, it's going to happen. I just wanted you to know this because I know for years you've been one of the people griping about it. I thought that was really cool of him. And that was really very nice of him because I have not been necessarily complimentary to Matthew over the years because of the excessive accumulation of stuff and the fact it was in a vault where, wrapped up where no one could see it. But this is great. As Jim said, this is great news. You're going to be able to travel to a place in the United States and see the Dungeon Master Guide cover, I mean, all these I mean, if you get a chance, look at the Luca art show last year, and just see some of the amazing things. I mean, pretty much all Easley's Dragon magazine covers. I mean, and I know this for a fact because Doug had one, the cover of Dragon, I think 206, that he sold to Matthew several years ago. And it's gorgeous. It hung in the warehouse for years, where you could see it when we were gaming. It's just going to be amazing to actually be able to go, not have to travel to Europe, not have to travel to Hong Kong, not have to travel to Australia, but just be able to go to a location in the United States and see this. I mean, I'm going. I'm there. So nobody needs to twist my arm, but I'm very excited about this happening. I'm glad that Matthew finally decided to do this, and I think it's going to be incredible. It really is.
I think so. I absolutely think so, and I'm very happy. Like all of us, I'm very happy to hear that the collection is finally going to be coming into the light of day where people can see it. He's got enough money to make sure that it's done right. I think that was another one of those sort of, I think if you doubted that it was going to be done right, I think you just didn't understand who the collector was. I think, that's just horseshit. I'm very, very happy. I've never met Matthew. I know him by reputation. I know him from the collector's circle, but the first time I ever meet the man face to face, I'm just going to shake his hand and say thanks. Thanks for saving all of this.
Hell yes.
Yes.
I mean, and that's what it takes. It takes somebody. It takes a Bill Meinhardt or a Matthew Coder or a John Peterson. If you're lucky, your hobby has these people. There's some people in the comic book hobby that we're not lucky to have because they've bought stuff over the years and buried. And basically, when I say buried it, they stuck it in a vault, and you're never going to see their one and only copy of Fill in the Blank. And you have to have with some collectors. They do. They are dragons sitting on top of a hoard, and they're not going to let you see what they have. So that's really cool that this is happening. And now the next step is we need a D&D museum. We've got to have a D&D museum so we can display, brown boxes and really cool things that regular people don't get to see either. So that's, and I've heard from some of our stalwart collectors in the hobby that's been on the back burner, but hopefully it's coming to the front burner in the next few years. And before we pass away, that will happen also. We'll have a museum you can go to and see a nice display. Here's a first print brown box, and here's a little card that says what it is, and it's going to be cool. Nice. Something to show your grandkids and say, look, here's some cool stuff that Daddy used to own, or Granddad used to own one of these. You're lying, Granddad. No, I did. I had a brown box. I swear.
Crap.
I was a star on Talking Crit for years. Okay, Grandpa, it's time to go to bed.
Settle down, take your meds.
Sure, quiet you were, down. Grandpa. Yeah, Talking Crit. That's
whatever. Whatever.
Yeah, so we're we're excited about that, and I just think that this is going to be great for the hobby, and it's just going to be great for all the collectors out there that just and sometimes we don't understand. I mean, Edwin and Jim and Eric, we're kind of on the inside of our hobby a little bit more than most people. Not to say we're not like super insiders. John Peterson doesn't call me up and ask me what you should do for his next book or anything. But we know these people. We talk to them from the inside more than most people. Most people just go and they play the game. They don't know anything. And so we've seen stuff like that. We've seen Bill Meinhardt's collection. We've seen original Easleys, and we've had these people. We've had Errol Otis sign the covers of our modules. We've kind of been there, but your average gamer has no idea of any of that stuff. And so for them to be able to walk into a museum and see this is going to be great. That they don't have the opportunities we have. I guess that's one way to put it.
Well, I think the thing is that this is the vast difference between people who go to cons and people who don't. Mm-hmm. If you go to conventions, you have an excellent chance of meeting the people who made such a huge impact on your childhood. Mm-hmm. And when you don't go to conventions, think about my first Gen Con was 93. I know that there are people in the audience, their first Gen Con was well before that. That's fine. but for whatever reason, the stars didn't align, and I didn't get to Gen Con until '93. But it was still a hell of a year to go to Gen Con,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm glad I went to Gen Con, and I'm glad. We say this all the time. We say that you ought to go to small regional shows. You absolutely should. I think we've belabored the point about why you should go.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could keep talking about it, but it's old familiar territory here. It's not. I think one of the things that I disagree with, one of the things that Edwin said, that we're all old school. I think I have bought any number of new games that have come out over the last, God help me, 40 odd years. And that hindsight, right? One of the things that we talk about on the show is that we really, when you see a shoddily made game, it doesn't matter how great the rule system is. If it looks bad and it looks chintzy, or it looks like it came out of the mimeograph machine, I'm probably not going to buy it. This is one of the reasons why I'm so troubled with the way that Wizards of the Coast has just phoned it in on Dungeons and Dragons. The interior art style is bland and repetitive. Same could be said for Paizo. I think for the two supposed industry leaders, I think their graphic design is as exciting as mud. And that's unfortunate.
The bar's been raised, hasn't it? The bar has gone up in the last 10 years.
The bar has tremendously gone up. Yeah. And I think you can look to the middle powers. I think you can look to the middle tiers and see, I think you can see a absolutely scalpel-like precision use of great black and white artwork that really makes things look amazing. I think you can see that a lot of games, DCC is one of them. I mean, folks, every week I change the painting over my shoulder, and I've featured so much DCC artwork that, I mean, DCC looks different and it hits different. We've talked about Shadow Dark and black and white and so on and so forth. But that's a great segue. So let's talk about D&D 5.5.
But wait, Jim, that doesn't exist. They specifically said there's no such thing.
Oh, come on. So I think if we are going to give Dan Ayub all the credit in the world for going on the apology tour, I think one of the things we have to also give him credit for is that he understands that really and truly, I believe that 5.5, I think we've all come to the point of agreement that 5.5 exists to make 4th edition look amazing. and I'm okay with that. Like, I really am. But now what I particularly enjoy is that the Perkins what's his name edition of D&D is no longer the Perkins what's his name edition of D&D. It's now simply a numerical addendum to the most successful version of D&D that ever came. And the sooner we quit talking about it, and the sooner we just push it off to the sides, the better everybody's going to be. The consumer market, the creators who made it, it was a stillborn child that frankly should have been put in a basket and let go to sea. And it didn't happen. And instead we're stuck with it mewing and wanting child support. And the sooner we just abandon it, the better off we're all going.
This tells me, Jim, I mean, there's a lot of things it tells me, but it tells me that I do think, for the rumors we've heard and for the sources we have, that 6.0 will happen.
Yes.
And for 6.0 to happen, they had to name whatever this, I'm not even going to use the words I could use for it, whatever this thing was that came out that was.
It's ridiculous. A homunculus. Just say it. It's like this flesh baby. It's like this golem they crafted.
Yeah. It should have been the 50th anniversary edition. Instead, it was a tepid, spit in a cup, and it didn't even come out in the right year. I mean, we had to wait, over
I'm forced to use a gesture. I'm forced to use a gesture. Those of you who have Disney Plus with Hulu, there is a show on Hulu called Letterkenny about a small town in Canada and the jocks, the skids, and the hicks. And in the very first episode, you're introduced to the main character, Wayne, when the two idiot jocks show up to take his daughter or his sister out on a date. And at one point, he makes the inappropriate gesture and says, "Oh, you guys been feeding the ducks?" And you have to think and listen very carefully to catch it. I find Letterkenny helps with subtitles, but really that's 5.5. That's all it is, right? It was almost like, oh gosh, I'll just say it. It was almost like we just wanted to burnish our reputations by having our own
They
name
had
on
to come out with something for the 50th anniversary, and they had nothing planned because we've look ad infinitum. We've gone over this over and over again. They didn't have a plan, and so
No.
50th anniversary, we got to come up with something. Let's just throw out these extra rules and whatever, and we're going to call it not 5.5. I mean, yeah.
Just call it what it is.
History book that will
Just
tell
call
us.
it what it is.
Scratching with our
Yeah,
art.
wait, I gotta find mine now. Oh my god!
I'm sorry, but 5.5 is masturbatory wank fest, and I refuse to think of it. I mean, it's not a serious contender for a great edition. It literally is sort of a hubris-filled project that filled the schedule, and it was storm and fury, and it accomplished.
But it didn't even fill the schedule right because it came out at the end of the year and then went to the next year because they didn't even have it planned correctly where it should have come out.
I've had
in the
infected
actual year of the 50th
Ford that
anniversary.
produced better material. So
it's the Disney Plus superhero movie that came out before the MCU. You know, it's the Roger Corman Fantastic Four. It's just, you know.
Actually, now I'm sorry, but the Roger Corman Fantastic Four, for as low budget and awful as it was still a better Fantastic Four than the version that came out before the new Marvel version.
Oh,
which
you were brave enough to watch that because I stayed away from that
one.
That looked.
Enough said. So 5.5. It's now being referred to as 5.5. We all knew it was 5.5. We had a lot of people who told us that it wasn't 5.5.
Right.
But we all knew it was 5.5.
D&D 2024.
So once again, you can tell me that it's not. I mean, here's the problem, right? This is the problem that beer faces. Beer on a hot summer day, when it's cold and it's delicious, beer is perfect. And beer is what we all crave, because if you've ever pushed a lawnmower in July across your yard and you finished and you want to sit down in a chair and behold your splendorous work, beer is there for you. But beer has one problem. If beer starts to taste like the very thing it looks like, you're never going to want that beer again. Look at that. See? Mike knows what I'm talking about. Because when beer starts to taste like piss, that's it. You don't want it anymore.
Yeah, it's about my fifth beer is where it starts tasting like.
Yeah, Schlitz. Schlitz used to be the number one beer in the United States. And then they changed the formula. It started to taste like crap, and everybody quit buying Schlitz.
You know what a good tasting beer used to be a long time ago? Coors. And then any beer that gets bought by a conglomerate and goes national, it's done. It's finished. It's done.
Okay, so here, do you want the greatest beer story I've ever heard from somebody who worked at Miller SAB?
Do it.
So Coors has this gigantic product development group, and their entire existence is to come up with new products and give it a shot. And so lo and behold, when the lab comes up with something they think is good, they present it to Pete Coors, who drinks it with them. And like, you know, this is a guy whose instincts have been razor honed. And he says, yay or nay. And so they presented a beer to him 3 times. 3 times. And he was like, take it back. It's not ready. It's just not ready. And like a lot of beer companies, they send these products out to bars to give it a shot, right? Like, let's do some testing and see how it goes. And they had called all of it back, except they had one bar. And the bar was like, can we get like 8 more kegs of that as fast as you can get it to us? And they're like, what? And he said, yeah, like, I gotta have 8 more kegs. It's Wednesday and I need them by the weekend. And so the entire team troops over to this bar in Denver and says, what are you doing? And he says, what do you mean? He says, how are you selling this beer? Like, what are you doing different? And he says, he says, well, that's easy. He said, we got it in and it was okay. But here, if you take a slice of orange and you put it in and then let it soak, it's perfect. And they all are like, holy crap. They go back the next day and have a meeting with Pete Coors. And they're like, you got to try this. And they give it one. And he's like, oh my God, this is perfect. Like it's done. And he says, why have you been hiding this? And they said, we gave it to you 3 times and you shot it down. And he said, what's the difference? And they said, it's the slice of orange. And that was Blue Moon.
I was going to say that must be Blue Moon. Yeah.
And it was Blue Moon. So the most amazing thing is they release it. They released Blue Moon, and within a year, it had taken a 4 or 5% market share away from Anheuser-Busch.
Wow.
And this is what's like, you can get lightning in a bottle, and it's just astounding. But you have to take the risks. You have to do yeah.
I have a story like that, Jim, and this has to do with a beer called Corona. So in the late 70s, early 80s, Corona was a beer. It was mostly done in Mexico. Nobody thought anything about it. As a matter of fact, it was kind of a low-class beer. It was a blue-collar beer.
Inexpensive beer, yes.
Inexpensive beer, no big deal. Then then MTV happened, and then spring break happened. And somebody figured out that if you put a lime in a Corona, squeezed it in there, it gave it kind of a tart, citrusy taste.
Yep.
They started doing that at spring break. I don't know what year, 84, 83, right on there. And Corona, within a year, was one of the top 10 beers in the United States. Beer that nobody cared about.
So there is a second part to that story. Do you remember when MTV used to go do MTV Spring Break?
Oh, yes. I was at a few in South Padre.
So Corona also figured out that if you made Corona bikinis and you had young, attractive women walking around during MTV Spring Break handing out beer, people might be interested in your product. And this is why, like one of the things that you will always see in a tourist trap shop where the cruise ship docks in Mexico, there's always a store that has a ton of Corona bikinis, because it doesn't matter that we're 40 years later, it's still resonating and it's still selling.
But it's saved the brand, and it's so funny because people that lived in the valley would just laugh and go, "This was this beer is shitty. Nobody drinks this beer." And then after spring break, everybody comes down to South Padre or Port Isabel or the area, and they all want a stupid Corona with a lime in it. And we're like, we're selling it like crazy. A true story. I had a friend. Do you remember? They used to have these kits in the 80s. You could take a beer bottle and cut the lid off, and then you'd Yes,
I know exactly what you're talking about. It was a Christmas item. They sold it. They sold it at Christmas. It was from Ronco, and it cut the top off of it so that you could have beer bottles as glassware.
You smoothed it out, and you could use the glasses. He went down one year to spring break, went through all the trash cans there, got a bazillion Corona bottles, brought them up to Dallas. He had one of those kits. He was selling Corona cups for $5 to $10 a piece out of beer bottles he found. I mean, that's how big it got.
Did you leave the cigarette butt in there? Or?
He would power wash them.
Okay,
but he would set up these flea markets, and there'd be these Corona cups. We're like, oh, that's from a Corona bottle, and I got it at South Padre Island. Providence was important. I dug it out of a trash can at South Padre Island. How much? $10. There you go. Boom. And he made a ton of money off that, enough to where he would go to garage sales and flea markets looking for more of those bottle kits, Jim, because they stopped making them after a while. And he had to go and find these at flea markets, these old these bottle making kits. He made a ton of money in college selling these stupid ass Corona glasses. But it was a weird phenomenon that all these things had to come together at the right time, these marketing things. Like your story, who thought that putting a orange in Coors
It's
Does somebody
literally
go,
a
"You know,
bar. It's a bar in Denver where the guy, the bartender knew beer enough that he identified what the beer was short on and he fixed it. And our
Crazy.
friend was head of global marketing for Miller SAB, nicest guy in the world. His job was to literally show up in a bar that sold Miller products and be like, "I'll buy a round for everybody, Miller." Oh my God, I'll take MGD. That'd be great, right? You know, but anyway.
Cha-ching and money, yes.
Okay, so we've
Marketing,
talked
yes.
about the museum. We've talked about 5.5.
Ugh.
I'm going to read something here. So I'm going to read a news release from this week, just so we
Okay.
know where we're going with this one. And I think we're going to have something to say about that. Artificial intelligence generated content is generally not eligible for copyright protection in the United States, as the U.S. Copyright Office and federal courts maintain that human authorship is a bedrock requirement for copyright. The Supreme Court effectively cemented this rule in March 2026 by declining to hear a case regarding AI-generated art. In other words, no human author, no copyrights allowed. And this is an interesting case because I think, I don't know. I don't keep up with the Supreme Court, religiously, but I think they got this one right. And I think if you read the decision on it, I think the reasons behind the decision to not hear the case. When they didn't hear the case, it went down to the lower court, which ruled that because it basically said, look, any media that's created by AI is fair use. That might save a lot of jobs in the future, because there's a lot of people that now are going to maybe decide, I can make a really kick-ass AI cover for my module, but I don't own it. And so Fred over here can use the same thing, and he's not going to get in trouble. It's not copyright.
The next step is going to be figuring out how much human intervention, like the next big case is going to be how much human intervention do you need before it is again copyrightable.
You're right, because what they did say in the decision was that prompts are not the same thing. And this is because of a case of a guy who had a piece of art that he said was fully AI created. He didn't say it was prompts. He didn't say whatever. He said, this is totally created by AI. I want to copyright it. And this case has been rolling through the courts since, I think, 2016.
Well, I mean, on the other end, though, that you take that AI generated art or writing, and you change, whatever, you get your little Photoshop thing going, you do a little bit of work on there. Now it's my art because I changed it, right? And that's an old argument. Even with
they're going to eventually have to parse this. But this guy was real specific about saying that, because I guess he was trying to be a badass, saying, "Oh, this is completely 100% AI generated." And you're right. The next guy that comes along is going to be a little smarter and say, "Well, I used some AI prompts, but I had input in.
I photoshopped this part and I adjusted this part."
So that's the crux of where this is going to go, because there are artists, genuine artists, who are creating art and tweaking it with AI tools. And so one of the examples that I can think of is a woman who takes stellar photography pictures. So she's got a very large telescope. She takes the pictures. She then uploads it, tweaks it around. It's a little bit of a mix of HDR resolution plus a little bit of sort of bringing stuff to the front, et cetera, et cetera. And again, this is somebody who's creating a copyrighted work of art. Now, the full AI generation stuff, right? I think of it as AI really just gives you the ability to create a much more elaborate sketch. And I realize I'm using the wrong words here, but bear with me. So oftentimes when I watch, I love Frank Cho, and I love Frank Cho because Frank does all these amazing videos where you see his creative process, where he does the pencils, then he does some erasure, then he inks, then he starts making the lines a little heavier, and so on and so forth. And I can see you generating what I would call the base layer of an image. But then when you go in and you put it into your Cintiq and you start working on it and you start bringing out what it is you wanted to create and so on and so forth, then we've transitioned from just being solely generated by AI to being something that's actually been, frankly, handmade. I know a lot of people won't like that. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. We have photorealistic AI illustrations that still, when you look at them, you're like, eh. But when you take one of these and you have somebody with some real talent at a computer working on this and tweaking this and making it into something spectacular, that's where I think you come up with a copyrightable, trademarked, I created this, I own this. And I think I'm not familiar enough with the case. I love it when the Supreme Court gives everybody heartache. That's always my favorite.
Let me read it real quick. I'll read this real quick. Stephen Thaler of St. Charles, Missouri, applied for a federal copyright registration in 2018, covering a recent entrance to paradise. Visual art, he said, is AI technology Dabas created. The image shows train tracks entering a portal surrounded by what appears to be green and purple plant imagery. The Copyright Office rejected his application in 2022, finding that creative works must have human authors to be eligible to receive a copyright. The Copyright Office has separately rejected bids by artists for copyrights on images generated by the AI system Midjourney. Those artists argued that they were entitled to copyrights for images they created with AI's assistance, which is unlike Thaler, who said his system created a recent entrance to paradise independently. So that, as Edwin said, that is going to be the next thing, I think. Okay, so you said
it's not a great argument, because there have been, you can go back decades and talk about just auto contrast enhancement stuff, and there is no difference except in magnitude between that and this, in terms of computers helping us improve our art in a way that we don't control at a sort of microscopic level. It's doing something, we're making some adjustments, but we don't really know, we're not really controlling the algorithm that is the enhance button, and we've been copywriting that for quite a while. So I don't know. It's an interesting.
But this is a guy basically he just pushed a button.
No, I'm 100%. Yeah, exactly.
So I understand
that's what I'm saying. But I feel like the reason we have courts is because all of this stuff is a gray zone, right? If we didn't have gray areas, we wouldn't need courts. It would just be obvious that this is copyright and this is not. So, but I think this is going to be a long and impossible debate in terms of figuring out.
One of the most interesting things to me about various tools that we all use, and I'll bring up an example so you may light your torches and get your pitchforks. But one of the things that I really like about Microsoft Word and Excel is that you can track every change in the document, and you can show every little edit to a word or whatnot. And when you look at somebody, I have been buying Imagine FX since issue 1, and have been absolutely watching the bleeding edge of what is possible electronically as an artist since it really solidified 15, 20 years ago. And I think it's very interesting. We're talking about artwork that was generated in 2018. Nothing in 2018 even can hold a candle to what last 2 years.
Thought that was an AI improvement.
AI wanted to cut you off there.
But I look at what's just come out in the last 3 years, and it's a staggering improvement over whatever was being generated in 2018. I think when I see digital artists, I've seen so many of these videos where literally you watch the entire process, right? You watch them do some sketching, then you watch them sort of solidify, you watch them change all of this. And again, they can track every single change they've made. When you have a document trail that long, I don't think there's any question that it was human generated. Now, if you just put a bunch of words into a prompt and it spits it out, I think, again, this is where you have problems, right? Because somebody didn't actually go in and tweak and so on and so forth. They just essentially created this hodgepodge based on the prompts.
Right.
And that's not a work of human creativity.
No, but the question is going to be, how many tracked changes do you need? So say the original document was AI generated, and then you go in and rewrite 5% of it, 80% of it, 95% of it. How much do you need to do before it becomes something that you can copyright. And I think that's really going to be the
Well, and
where
I
all the
think that's
lawsuits
just
are,
it.
or
I
the
think it's
court
going to
cases.
have the human layer before you can begin to pretend to copyright or trademark it.
Mhm.
Now, Chubby Funster's on a tear here. He says,
My
people talk about
God.
AI all day, but nobody can point to a single book or movie or similar product that is actually better than human output. There's no AI made Goodwill Hunting or Jurassic Park. And I say, I don't disagree with that sentence, but there's one word missing on the end of it.
Yet.
Bingo. And
I
so
was going to add, there's another thing missing. There's a whole lot of crappy human output out there.
yes,
I mean,
we talked about the third Fantastic Four movie, and believe me, it's a terrible movie. Old Milwaukee's
right? So
Best,
I mean,
terrible
it's
beer.
Humans created that. Yes, they created that garbage.
It
yes.
is not true that AI generated stuff is worse than all human generated content, aesthetically speaking. It may not have yet, as you say, reached the pinnacles of, but it's certainly better than a lot of schlock that we make, myself included.
Well, and I think we're all getting to the point where we see a lot of things and go, that looks like AI. I think that just looks like AI, and I'm okay. I'm all right. But I think if you're a serious artist, Fugly raises the point, you need to turn on tracked changes. Yes, and you know what? I think if you're an artist and you are a creator, you need to do this. I think you absolutely need to do this because that lets you say, here's my file, kiss my ass, right? And you can take them through blank piece of paper to what they've created. And I watched this, I worked for Gaines Workshop, and Gaines Workshop had a studio with artists who worked there full time. And I remember the first time I saw a digital cover of a codex, and I was gobsmacked. I was like, whoa, it was a great piece of art. It really was. It wasn't AI generated, but wow, it's pretty impressive stuff. Ominous silence.
No.
Somebody said talk about AI generated music, and I've actually, this is something I'm actually familiar with. I've heard it, and it's creepy because maybe I'm just trying to fool myself, but I think AI generated music lacks soul. I mean, I've heard.
I agree with that.
Songs, it's just, I mean, yes, it can generate music. Is it good music? I don't know. Is disco good music? Is electronic? I mean, yeah, some people are going to like it.
They're not going to fight over electronic music. So
no,
you want to fight?
No, I mean, but nobody's gonna
Look, I loved third wave ska, but I'll be the first person to say like 9 out of 10 albums sounded the same, right? I just but I was listening the other day to Sister Rosetta Tharpe. If you don't know who she is, you should look her up. But here you have sort of a gospel singer who played her own guitar, and when you listen to it, it's not AI. I have a couple of YouTube channels saved that I'm pretty sure are created with Apple's auto tune or whatever, just because I want something in the background while I'm doing dishes or whatnot. And I don't want to listen to Enya's Watermark for the 187,000th time or whatever. The music industry now is very different from the music industry of the 70s or even the 80s. Album oriented radio was called AOR for a reason. It was oriented towards playing deep cuts off of albums. What you have now are you have artists that are primarily dropping singles and wanting to build a catalog of singles. Very few albums have the kind of traction of being there's a song, every song on the album is worth listening to. And I think that's a really great point. The Chubby raises a point. My industry has degenerated into an endless stream of puerile trash. I've figured out a way to make more of it for a lower production cost. Huzzah. I mean, I hate to say this, but the whole point of being in business and trying to get ahead of your competitors is figure out a cheaper way to do it where you can deliver a better product than they do. And this is why, I'm looking forward to meeting Dan Ayub in a couple of weeks. I really will say I'm embarrassed that what should be an industry leader has simply remained comfortable. And there are times where you have to shake things up and you have to fire art directors because they've led you down a tepid path, and you have to be willing to just let it rip. Warhammer 40,000 didn't really take a lot of chance. I mean, didn't cut a lot of corners to keep building the universe and building the universe and building the universe. If you had said 25 years ago, there's going to be an ungodly amount of Horus Heresy novels, I think a lot of people would have thought you were crazy. But when the first books got published in 1999, the first paperbacks, the entire goal was to eventually work towards the Horus Heresy. They had to prove they could do it. And so they did. They brought out amazing books that sold. I'm a big believer in creatives getting off their duff and showing us what we're capable of. When we have people who are on this show who are phoning it in, I struggle with that. I really struggle with that, because we give you a platform to talk about how great your products are. We give you a platform to really, really just
talking about me.
No, I'm not talking about you. I think it's one of those things. I think it's just one of those things where we want to hear people be excited about their projects, right? Edwin's more excited about the project than some folks that we've had on within this past year and a half. And okay, right? If you're on and you're like, yeah, okay, I don't know what to say, right? Because I want you to like give me something amazing. The guy in Alaska, whose name I can't remember. The kid who's like 21, 22 years old and had the Kickstarter that was filled with
Keelan.
Yes, my God.
Oh my God. Like that dude, he can't even turn it down. He's
somebody took a squirrel and dosed it up with methamphetamine and then let it loose in a parking lot being chased by a rabid raccoon. Because that's what talking to him is like. And I'm just, but you see what he creates and it's astounding. It's just, it's a lot of fun because he's there. I think the AI side.
You want those people in the industry because they're the people who are going to keep it going when us old farts are like, oh God, I've seen that module 500 times already.
Nobody saw Old School Essentials coming the way it did. Nobody saw Tolus, Monty Cook's magnum opus. Nobody saw it coming. Don't get me started on Numenaria. I think it's as dull as tap water. I mean, nobody saw Shadow Dark. Nobody saw DCC. And I don't know what it is, but there's something coming out 2 years from now that none of us have a clue about. And it would be great if it's D&D 6th edition, but I'm not holding my breath. Right?
It's going to be Dungeon Survivor.
Survivor.
I'm just saying.
I already like.
There we go. See,
I like that better than I've heard from D&D 6.0. So I mean,
that's right.
No, but they have so what's working against them, Jim, is the fact that when you become this gigantic brand name, you can't really change too much because you've already selling this product to this many people. And the more you change it, the more you're going to alienate this surefire audience you already have. And so that is going to cut down your creativity right there. The fact that you can't just like Edwin just can't walk into Watson and say, I got this great idea, pitch Dungeon Survivor and say, that's what I want to turn 6E into. And they're going to say, get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about because we're already selling a bazillion copies. We're not going to do that much of a change.
I mean, that was the 4E thing, right?
We'll change a little bit. We'll do this there, but we're not going to change it that much. And so that's a built-in, not a flaw. What's the word I'm looking for? That's just, it's an impediment. It's an impediment to doing anything.
It's a bug, not a feature.
Yeah, there you go. Because, but you got to make, it'd be like if you said, I don't know, let's just say you took this brand, like let's say Coca-Cola, and you had something, I'm just New Coke. Let's just say you just called it New Coke. And then you got rid of the old Coke, which everybody loved. And now this would never happen. Obviously, I'm giving you a hypothetical case. And you suddenly marketed this thing called New Coke. And then everybody decided they didn't want it and they wanted the old stuff. If that ever happened, which I don't know that it happened, but if it ever happened, yes, that's what you're looking at here. You're looking at how can they make D&D more interesting and make it a better game without changing the basic DNA of it or alienating their already existing customer base. And I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. I don't know. And that's for smarter people than me to figure out, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think we will see some more we will see more lawsuits about this, but I think again, if I was a digital artist, I would track every change on the works so that I could very easily in court show this is what I created,
Right.
and that takes a lot of this out of the equation, right? Because then you can say this is a human created piece of work. Now, as we all wave our back scratchers, I
Feeling
think
so
that
left out.
that's how we got here. I think that we probably belabored the point. We're coming up on Gary Con. We're a couple of weeks away from Gary Con. It's coming faster and faster. It's the impending explosion of Gary Con. I've gotten some confirmations of some more things that are going to be in the charity auction, and in fact, one of them is winding its way to me as we speak through mail, and is a collaborative art project that should have some people really pretty excited. Some amazing things. I will say that Wizards of the Coast is donating something pretty spectacular as well, and hats off to them. So it looks like it's going to be a barn burner. It's like
This auction is real. This is really because this Gary Con auction has really blown up the last few years, and you've seen it blow up, Jim, because you're there and you're.
I don't know how to tell you this, but yes, I've put a lot of effort into making the auction a lot bigger than it used to be.
You're ground zero for blow up, and so that's really cool to see this just kind of happen just organically over a period of 3 to 4 or 5 years.
I think I would say what I would say is number one, like we used to do 10 grand, we used to do 12 grand. And what you have to do is you have to do a few things. Number one, you really have to foster a spirit of giving. That please open up your collections and take a look at what you've got. And if you could donate anything to the charity auction, please know that we're going to sell it and the money's going to go to a good cause. Number two is you have to have a good cause. I have said before privately, I've said it publicly, you should try to pick a beneficiary of a charity auction that everybody wants to support. It's really easy to support sick kids or military veterans. It's really hard to get everybody on board with fetish fly catchers or butterfly nets for everyone.
Or say you had, let's just say, just out of blue, once again, I'm just spitballing, you had a wedding and it was a couple of people in the industry that
mercifully the wedding was not part of the charity auction, but yes. But what you want is you want to benefit a charity that everybody understands, that everybody understands how important this is. And so we were very fortunate that things started to go for an uptick. We started getting some great donations. We started getting some great bidders who really started saving money all year long to really, frankly, throw it into the auction with reckless abandon. We recognized those people. We recognized every aspect of the auction. We recognized the donors. We recognized the bidders, and it doesn't hurt. You have to have a voice for charities. Now, one of the things that really irks me is when I do a charity auction and we can't get the recipients of the money to show up and talk before the auction. It's happened more times than I would care to admit at one particularly large show, which is why I really love the fact that our charity partners with Gary Con have been very involved. And when a 13-year-old girl stands up and says, I was 12 years old when I was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma, you can hear a pin drop. And last year we had Oliver, and Oliver was in a wheelchair, and Oliver had woken up one night with a fever and was paralyzed from the neck down. And he is in a wheelchair. I have to hold the microphone for him, and he's telling his story about why Children's Hospital is important. And as I have said on this show, Oliver will be at Gary Con again this year. He's actually playing because Children's Hospital's physical therapy department has taught him how to walk again. That's a pretty fucking big deal.
Mhm.
And so we've been very fortunate. Last year, like we were literally hitting $12,000 6-7 years ago. We hit $93,000 last year, and that's a lot of money for a 3-hour charity auction at a game convention with less than 6,000 attendees. That's an extraordinary amount of money, and the best part is that we have buy-in from every aspect of the auction. We have it from the bidders, we have it from the donor. I'm sorry, we have it from the donors, the bidders, the charity itself. All the parts and pieces are working together to have that success. And I would say to any of you watching this, if you want to have a charity at your local, if you want to have a charity auction or something at your local convention, listen to all of the things I just spent 5 minutes talking about, because you have to pick a charity that, I mean, we are a country with a lot of different political interests amongst its population that are sometimes in conflict. And you should choose a charity that absolutely everybody who has any humanity to them is going to want to support. Because if you do, and you stick with that, it doesn't have to be the same charity partner. But
Right.
if you just stick with that approach, you're going to find that the success is just staggering, absolutely staggering. I have people that try to get me in, you know, they try to sort of bait me into political stuff when I'm on stage or I'm at a mic or whatever, doing a charity auction, and or I have somebody who will be bidding and somebody will say something unfortunate, and I usually come on that with a 12-pound sledgehammer, and I'm just like, we're not here for that. Like, we're not here to do that. Yeah, you know, like read the room and know your know your audience, and that's really, really tough. So I would say that if you're coming to GaryCon, I hope you'll make the time to be at the charity auction, even for a little while if it's between games. I hope that if you're coming, you'll be ready to spend. We've got a silent auction component this year where we've tried to make more space in the regular auction so I can talk instead of just trying to maximize items. Last year, I think we hit 200 plus items in 3 hours, and that's
That's
lot.
huge. Yeah,
I was pretty fried by the end of it.
that's more than one per minute. Holy
Yeah, I mean, you guys are doing the Lord's work, so to speak. I mean, you really, that's awesome, and I hope it doesn't ever get too much for you, because I know that you guys are beaten
At
down.
some point, I'm going to be dead, and I look forward to my replacement so I can get a nap. Right? That's
so
really
nobody can do. You can't die. We're gonna have an AI Jim Kitchen do auctions because
oh no, it
nobody's
would
gonna do
swear. I actually said the other day, you know, I realized that I'm on the back 9 of the golf course, right? I'm past the first 9 holes. I'm on the back 9. And I really need to break down and get the parrot sooner than later, because my favorite story is Andrew Jackson dies, the president, Andrew Jackson dies, and at his funeral in his home, they had to stop the funeral and remove the parrot, his parrot, because it was swearing so much. And a lot of people treated this as an apocryphal story because there was only one place that you found this cited, until somebody found a letter from the minister who performed the funeral, who was writing to somebody about how bad the parrot swore, that he had the parrot his entire life in his office, and every time he had the door closed, apparently all Andrew Jackson did was swear just nonstop. So I feel like I should move my player's handbook idol. I should get a parrot and I should begin swearing so that when I'm gone, you'll all have something to remember me by. Mike, what do you got music-wise this week?
I have some selections.
Excellent.
I have from last week, one of my favorite albums of all time, still on the list, Teenage Fan Club, Bandwagon-esque. It's been 3 weeks now, so if you never listen to this album, you might want to go out and get it, because I can't stop. I mean, I never get bored of this album. Love this album. Luna Park, got my Luna, was off the list for a couple weeks, and I threw it back on because it's kind of it's just kind of a modern, easy listening type album with rock and roll in it too. So sometimes you just need to think, and that's the perfect think album. This is Ryan, I think we talked about Ryan Adams last week. Cold Roses. It's a double CD. It's considered one of his best albums. It's country rock. Every song is very melodic. It's more rock than country. He plays most of the instruments himself. He's a creative genius. He's an infant terrible. How do you say that? He's a
terrible infant.
Yeah. Yes, he pretty much ends up firing everybody in his band and throws stuff and drinks. But he's an absolute genius. And any Ryan Adams album is excellent. But the Cold Roses, which he did with the band called the Cardinals,
the album art is amazing. I gotta say,
it's great. Oh yeah. It's he does some really. It's all in here. It does some great.
There it is. Okay.
That's good. So I kind of gotten a little 90s kick too. There's a band called the Heartthrobs. They only had 3 albums, 86 through I think 93. Their first 2 albums nobody listened to. Their third album ended up number 1 on the Billboard charts. It was called Cleopatra Grip. If you don't know what that means, look it up. I'm not going to explain it because it's dirty. But they had a song called Dreamtime, and they had a couple other songs. This is back when MTV was really rolling along. Anyway, it became a gigantic dance hit album. It's pretty good. And then they ended up breaking up 2 years later. So they had a very short history, about 5 years, 3 albums, 2 albums bad. They had 1 good album. This is it. It's good, really good stuff. This is a guy I only found out a few years ago. I really enjoy his stuff. He's from Arkansas. His name's Hayes Carl. And this is an album called Little Rock, which obviously Little Rock, Arkansas. He does country rock, probably more country than rock, but it's really good stuff. His songs are all great. They're all about losers, as most country music is. And some of his songs, the titles are just great. One of my favorite songs by him is Bad Liver and a Broken Heart. So you can kind of guess what that's about, drinking and going out with the wrong women. He has a great song on here. It's called Glad I Came, but wish I hadn't stayed so long. It's kind of about life, about how life works out. But his stuff's really good. I would love to see him in concerts today because I heard his live shows are really great. Really enjoy this one. I'd heard a couple songs off it. I got the full album. Not every song is a super hit, but more often than not, he has lyrics that'll make you smile, sometimes make you laugh, sometimes make you think. I'm a big fan of his, and I'll probably listen to this a few more times just because I found a couple of songs I like right off the bat, but I'll probably end up liking most of the album like I do most of his albums eventually. So that's the 5 albums. Jim, you got some movies?
I got some stuff, but first we're going to start with some music. All right? Because my assignment for all of you is to go out onto YouTube and look for this. So that is the score for the movie Heavy Metal. By Elmer Bernstein. So you can't see it real well because I'm getting reflections. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can fix that. Hold on there.
Oh, wait.
So there you go.
Not the soundtrack.
Not the soundtrack. Yes. Not the rock and roll soundtrack. Right. This is the actual, this is the Elmer Bernstein score for Heavy Metal. Now, hold on. And of course, it's there he is wearing his t-shirt. There he is wearing his t-shirt. And it's got the great line from Den. Wow, 18 years of nothing, and then now twice in one day. So there you go. But you should go look this up. You can pull back now. You should go look this up. If you've never heard it, this is like the Conan the Barbarian album. It's a music you can slay your enemies or make love to. Your choice. But you're going to want to add it to your repertoire. Then I got, in no particular order, I was talking about this with a friend of mine the other day. There really is only one Punisher movie to watch, and that is the original one with Thomas Jane. If you haven't seen it, John Travolta is not worth watching, but Thomas Jane is spectacular. You should absolutely watch The Punisher because it was the Marvel movie before there was a Marvel movies. I'll save that one for last. Next up is if you went to drive-ins at some point, you probably saw Our Man Flint.
Okay.
Yes, James Coburn made 2 Flint movies for the studio that just made drive-in movies. He's the greatest American spy that never was. This is, this is the first one. There were 2 of them. They're worth looking up, but they're very dated and they're very entertaining. But now is the one that I have to talk about because of events. regardless of where you are politically, we had an unbelievable moment in the last few days, which is for the first time since World War II, an American submarine fired a torpedo and sunk a ship, one of the Iranian ships. Now, I know some people who were silent submariners in the silent service, and I can tell you to a man, they're all bitching that they weren't on the sub that got to fire the first war shot in 60, 70, 80, almost 80 years. And so that's why I'm recommending The Hunt for Red October.
Oh, yeah.
Watch the movie.
Really and truly, if you've never seen it, there's so many in-jokes that we can all make. One ping Vasily, one single ping. It's got Alec Baldwin, and I'm pained to say this, but he probably was the best version of Jack Ryan, but then he got lured away to do something else. It holds up. It's hard to watch on dark televisions because this underwater stuff sort of blurs, but there are a lot of really, really stirring moments. And if you don't know the story, Tom Clancy was literally your neighborhood insurance guy. He wrote homeowners policies, automotive policies, and in his spare time, he wrote a book.
He had a hobby, right? He had a hobby.
He wrote a book that was published by the Naval Institute Press. And the moment it came out, there was a holy shit moment throughout the entire U.S. Navy and every defense agency because nobody could figure out how he got all of it right when he didn't have security clearance to know half the stuff that was in the book.
Mm-hmm.
The story is about a Russian submarine captain decides that he and his crew have decided, he and some of his crew have decided to defect. And they are about to take out for sea trials the new Russian first strike submarine, the Red October. And there's a moment in the movie, it's better in the book, but there's a moment in the movie where the Russian head of the Navy gets a letter from Captain Ramius, and it's handwritten. And as he's sitting at his desk, drinking a coffee, looking at his mail, he opens the letter from Ramius and reads it. Now it's been working its way through the post office. And so Ramius has a day or two lead on him. But in it, he makes it clear, I'm leaving. It arrives on the anniversary of Ramius's wife's death. And he says, I'm leaving. I'm defecting to the West. And the head of the Navy drops his coffee and begins screaming. And the next thing you know, the U.S. is noticing that literally every single vessel from Polyarny to every other harbor on the western side of Russia, everybody's going to beat the oceans and heading into the North Atlantic in an unprecedented exercise. And that's what is the hunt for Red October. The U.S. is told that the Red October has gone rogue, is going to launch its missiles. So every ship on the U.S. side is going to hunt the Red October while the Russians are doing the exact same thing. And it's about our hero trying to get everybody trying to figure out what's really at stake. And it's a great movie. It's a great book. But yes, in celebration of our first war shot in 70 odd years, go watch The Hunt for Red October.
It also features the worst Russian accent you have ever heard in your entire life on planet Earth by the otherwise incredibly awesome Sean Connery.
Well, Sean Connery doesn't even try. He
No,
just
he
like,
doesn't
I'm a
even
Scotsman on the
try.
boat. Fucking live with it.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I guess I'm along for the ride.
You
This is
get
gonna
like
be great.
2 sentences in Russian, and then midway
Yes.
through the sentence,
Yes.
it starts talking like a Scotsman.
It's one of the best ways to avoid subtitles. They literally are starting the conversation in Russian, and then they just transition to English, and that's it.
Because it sounds the same no matter what.
It's just, and again, he's like, show Vasily, give me one ping, Vasily, give me one single ping. And you're like, oh my God.
Still a great movie, though. But
great
ignore
movie.
that. It's incredible movie. I saw it at the theater. I was lucky to see it at the theater whenever I was going nuts over it. And yeah, it's great movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dark
So
Food is
yeah,
also
I
very good,
did
yeah.
trade notes with I traded notes with a friend of mine. I don't even know if he was on an attack submarine or if he was on a ballistic missile submarine. but like universally, I've got 3 friends who were submariners, and all 3 of them are just, I mean, I'm like, what do you think? And it's the same reply. Fuck. You're just like, okay, I get it. I totally understand. So
Wow. Edwin, thank you for joining us tonight. Man.
Yes.
Thanks for having me. That was awesome.
Yeah.
It's good to see y'all.
yeah. There's so many great sub movies. Yes, Das Boat's great. Crimson Tide's okay. Down Periscope. I don't know any submariner that doesn't say that Down Periscope is the single great. They all say it's the single greatest movie about submarine service ever made. With Kelsey Grammer and Lauren Holly and all the rest of them. So yes, you should do Hunt for Red October and Down Periscope.
U571. That's where that's the Enigma.
Yeah, but they merged a couple of different things together, and I'm not a
it's
I'm
okay.
not a big fan of that, because the true story of the submarine at the Chicago Museum of Industry and Science and Industry Museum, the true story of that, you didn't need to embellish it. It's just
no, it's pretty good. I've actually seen it on the History Channel.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Again, thank you to Edwin, Mike, Jim. The very lively live stream crowd. You're all awesome. Next live stream is tomorrow night, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Friday, 8 p.m. Saturday. Oh, I may be on some other streams too on top of that. But yes, that's don't worry about it.
Yeah, more than 2. Come on.
Yeah, I know.